again, as always. Disclaimer, just because I have a different opinion than Mr. Schenkhausen doesn't mean that I don't like him, doesn't mean that I disrespect him, but we are very different people with very different opinions. And this will probably shine through this reaction. I've been talking to Grubby a lot in the past couple of weeks, and sometimes we agree a bit, and sometimes we agree a lot, and sometimes we are on the opposite side. I have to say this every single time because some people try to start a feud between us, which is not real. Just, dumb internet people doing dumb stuff. It is what it is.
So, how good is the new Warcraft 3 2.0 patch? The patch has been out for 3 days now, so this is a video with me talking about my first thoughts and how the patch has landed with me and with the community at large. The secret is out. Warcraft 3 has had its second makeover on Wednesday the 3rd.
I mean, if you're a follower of the Back to Warcraft content, it wasn't necessarily a secret. Yours truly has reported it as the first person, and you all knew.
13th of November 2024, and now 2.0 is out to the public. I shared a feature overview with you guys in my video The Rumors Were True on that day, and many of you have seen it and commented on it. Meanwhile, the community at large has had its time to absorb the new features and how it feels about them, as well as seeing what has not been changed, which hopes have been fulfilled, and where 2.0 may have fallen short for now. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my first thoughts post-release now that I have a bit more clarity on the overall reception, as well as my own experience with playing the game in a live environment. This is not a comprehensive review of Warcraft 3 2.0. This is going to be me sharing my initial thoughts and assess a kind of state of the game, if you will. I'll also be
prediction time. I haven't seen this yet. Prediction time. In comparison to me, Grubby will be a bit apologetic. Grubby will be a bit rose-glassed. While I'm gonna be a bit more blunt. But there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. And it's also good to have two voices. One a bit more nuanced and one a bit more drastic.
We'll be discussing the accuracy of advertising that Blizzard has been utilizing and whether Blizzard made or is making true on their promises, whether they could have done more, and whether our community's expectations have been reasonable and realistic. The company that used to be known for making and selling finished products in the early 2000s, such as with Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos and Warcraft 3 The Frozen Throne, released a botched remake in 2020 January 28th due to bad mismanagement, power struggles, internal underfunding, cost-cutting and firings, incompetency, greed, lack of foresight, and more. So in a surprising move, Blizzard has decided, with work presumably starting maybe years ago, they've decided to start allocating resources to repairing their reputation and repairing the semi-broken client of Warcraft 3, nearly 5 years after its Reforged release on January 28th in 2020. So Warcraft Reforged, that widely became known as Warcraft Refunded, because they had
it's still so unfunny.
A no questions refund policy, is now slated.
Warcraft Refunded is the same level of humor as what's the third Stormgate race gonna be? Cat ear ladies? What was it again? Cat ear aliens? Cat girls? Anime cat girls? Ay, stop. Never mention again.
To finally become Warcraft repaired. But will they hit that bullseye? How good is it? Let's first talk about the launch. Launch day, 13th November 2024, was a particularly rocky launch. There were a couple of problems. I personally didn't experience many, but many people did, and we should talk about it. There were people that had no access to their options. This has since been identified as being caused by illegal characters, or exotic characters, let's say. Users with exotic characters in their audio output or input devices were unable to access any part of the game options. Tough luck for those with...
Not only that, but also couldn't really start anything. And if you started something, everything was set to classic, but you had reforged options, but you couldn't mix, etc., etc. Was a disaster, but the patches on day one were really fast. I'll probably be more critical down the road, but the day zero fixes were good. I mean, obviously it's better if you don't need day zero fixes, but the day zero fixes were good for what they were. You know? Like, yeah.
With Rode microphones. I was lucky to have an audio interface, which ended up being the name of my audio input device, rather than my Rode pod mic that I have right here.
Guess who has a Rode?
Here. So I was able to access options. It took some time for them to discover what the problem was, but they fixed it within a day. Secondly, there were people that could not access the game at all, which is terrible for the hype for those people, of course. They were being given some form of error message that meant that they couldn't authenticate their license of the game. Valid license access to Warcraft 3 has always been possible via either owning the original Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos CD key and uploading it to your Battle.net account. That would give you access to the very same client that we're all playing on, but you would be blocked out from using the Reforged graphics settings.
Yep.
Nonetheless, it is a valid license for playing the game.
That was indeed an issue, because a couple of people then bought one. And so you can think, like, did they do this on purpose to make an extra bug? If you want to be a conspiracy tinfoil person, that was indeed confusing. And I'm sure that wasn't the first time. Did that happen during the original launch as well? I try to remember. Something is there.
And they should have had access on launch day, but they didn't. Of course, you could also buy Reforged license key for $30, and many people do have that version, including me, and we could get into the game just fine. But this almost looked like Blizzard did it on purpose to force you to buy the Reforged game. This turned out not to be the case. They fixed this bug in a day as well, and next day people could already log in. But some people may have thought that they couldn't log in because Blizzard removed ROC license validity. We should talk about Mac users. Since about 40 to 45 days ago.
Here, I also want to point out, I'm very sure they tweeted relatively fast. So if you want to wear that tinfoil, there's some cracks in the tinfoil. Yeah. They tweeted a couple of hours. No, it was 10 p.m. That is 2 hours after release, which is a bit late. We're also aware of players who have original Warcraft and are unable to log in. We're working on a fix. So that was fine. Take off your tinfoil hat.
Mac users have not been able to play Warcraft 3 at all.
Fixed.
This was acknowledged on the Battle.net launcher, but only at the Americas region.
It is fixed now. And what Grubby said here, sorry, I talked over it. He said that there was a warning in the Americas region. We figured out now that if you have set your Battle.net launcher to the language English US, you don't get the maintenance notification in Europe. So you have to set it to English UK, and then you're notified as well.
Would have a pop-up that said, "We know Mac users can't play, please stand by for a fix." But if you logged in via Europe or Asia, your Battle.net launcher wouldn't say anything about it at all. There were also one or two news acknowledgements somewhere on the Battle.net website / forums where Blizzard acknowledged they were working on a fix, which is nice to know that they were working on it, but I think 40 to 45 days is an unreasonably long time for a Mac user to be locked out of the game. While on the one hand you could say that this Mac user may have owned the game since 2002, and therefore in 22 years missing 45 days is not that big of a deal, but if someone bought the game 45 days ago, they would literally not have been able to play the game for 1.5 months, the entirety.
From what I heard, and I have to switch scenes here real quick, it is one story by Pirate Gaming that explains why Mac updates are a bit more
I
complicated.
dropped Mac support, and I won't be doing it again. For Windows, we actually do the game, and we just compile on Windows. Easy. For Linux, we build up a VM, and we compile for Linux. It's done. You want to know what you have to do on Mac? It's terrible. You have to, first, get Mac hardware. That hardware usually costs about $800, because it's a Mac Mini. Then, you have to get a license key, and that key costs $100 per year. Then, you have to compile the whole goddamn thing in Xcode. And if you've ever compiled anything in Xcode, it's dog shit, and I hate it. Then, you can finally compile for Mac. And guess what? If it breaks, you have to do the whole goddamn thing over again. You don't have to pay for the key again, but you have to go reprovision the key and then put it back into Xcode and then do it again. All of this was 0.02% of our sales. I dropped Mac support, and I won't be doing it again.
Yeah, it's probably understandable why stuff like that can happen. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. They don't really care about that, but it's just obnoxious, apparently.
Of their ownership of the game. And if anyone bought the game on release but has a Mac, they would also not have been able to play until present day. As far as I know, it's still not fixed. It's purported to
Grubby video is so outdated. So outdated, dude. We got it fixed just an hour ago.
be fixed soon, but it should be mentioned that it isn't. There's much to be said about quality of life features. My first thoughts and impressions, and I think everyone's is it's very positive. Overall, incredibly positive across the board. I've gone over nearly every feature at length in my breakdown video, though not everything. I missed a couple, and I'm very happy with all of them. I love using the new hero skins, all of which are available in Reforged and Classic HD graphic settings. Not all of them are usable in Classic SD. I hope we're getting more in the future.
Wait. That's not true.
Though not everything. I missed a couple, and I'm very happy with all of them. I love using the new hero skins, all of which are available in Reforged and Classic HD graphic settings.
I mean, there's a lot of skins that are just Reforged and not any Classic. And it's the majority, unfortunately. So I think it's a bit too positive on the skins. Yeah.
Not all of them are usable in Classic SD. I hope we're getting more in the future. But whatever graphics settings that I'm using, I love it to transform some of my heroes. You can gender bend the Demon Hunter and the Death Knight. I prefer to play with the original versions. But there's also other cool skins like the Blackrock Blade Master, Karen the Tauren Chieftain, Thrall the Farseer, and so on and so forth. I wish to get more skins still. It's a lot of fun to play with all of these.
And
the only
there's no unit skins. There's like, how many skins is there in total? 20? Minus, they're very samey. The Dreadlord and the Paladin especially. Some heroes are missing skins. You know, it's especially since we will all be playing with classic models. It's a fact. Like, outside, the Melee community will be playing with classic models, fact. And what do we really got? We got like 5 skins, I think. Is really not much for classic.
Quality of life feature that I feel like missed the mark a little bit is actually one that I vouched for myself 2 months ago. The insta snap of idle worker was made into a double tap if you want to snap to it, and if you click it once you just select it. I really thought I was going to be able to enjoy it better without the insta snap of the camera, but I've actually been missing it myself. It has felt very disconcerting because I have a lot of muscle memory around pressing the idle worker hotkey or clicking the icon and then expecting the camera to focus on it. I really thought I was going to like it more, the change, but not so much, and I've heard some other people complain about it as well.
People hated it. And that is one of the things that can be cool and it can be preference. But this is one of the things that were forced on people, and people really don't like when stuff is forced on them. And there should have been a lesson learned that if this is a toggle, great. And to be honest, when Grubby explained why he wants the double click, a lot of that made sense. So I don't hate the idea of playing around with stuff like that. I think it's not a priority at all. There's like a million things that could be better and are more important that I would put higher on the prior list. But if it's an easy thing to do, then why not? I also tinkered around with that for like 15 minutes, which is a lot for a double click, to be honest. And the function is not great. It bugs a bit. You have to hit a specific rhythm for this to work when you have more than one idle worker. So yeah, just dial it back. Give us an option. Give us a toggle. Then it's fine. But I don't hate them trying this, and I also don't hate him. I also don't hate Grubby putting this forward because it could have been cool.
But the other quality of life features, really nice. Let's talk about the client look.
I gotta say here, and I said this a couple of times before just for completionism, the quality of life features are nice, but it's all catching up and nothing brings the game forward. And that's the difference. The progressive part of the community is War 3 Champions, and Battle.net now does what War 3 Champions is doing for years, which, you know, us as hardcore melee players doesn't excite. Also, a deny counter, for example, won't excite the single player people because for them it doesn't matter. So yeah, I guess it's time for War 3 Champions to come up with new features that Blizzard can then copy.
In terms of look, I feel like the world is healing. The client is healing a lot. The new client feels more nostalgic, warmer, and more cozy. And the willingness to go back to a look that is more similar to the original, in my opinion, shows a level of humility from Blizzard, a level of understanding that I didn't think Blizzard had in them anymore, that I didn't think they were going to be able to illustrate anymore. It shows.
I agree with that a lot, that they know in what direction they have to go. And that's maybe... Okay, If we assume that there is continuous and active development now, having a menu and background like this is a wonderful, wonderful sign. But let's not get too rose tinted. And if it's just that, then who cares? But if it's a sign that, hey, yo, we know you love this menu, we brought back the menu, this is the path forward, then it's great.
Shows a change in thinking and management in Blizzard. I didn't think Blizzard could break free of the arrogance that was so rife during the 2020 release. We can release the game in this state and get away with it. I'm not blaming individuals for it, or at least not the individuals that had nothing to do with it. It's a management thing. It's a corporate rot kind of thing. It's what happens to publicly traded companies when the marketing people...
Ooh, I forgot something. And since Ding Dong Ding Dang Dong is also saying it, I like the UI. I hate the UX. I hate how unfunctional this is, and I'm gonna release a video on that. It's like 20 minutes. How bad it is from a functionality standpoint, and that because this menu, it looks great, but from this menu I can't get into a game. And for a menu, that's pretty damn bad. Also, there's no way to go from single player to multiplayer. If I am in single player, I have to go back to the main menu hub, then go into multiplayer, where then I can still not hit the button to play, but have to do another button to go into versus or custom games. There's a million things like this, right? So the click flow, the UX is really bad, but the signal, this background sense is good.
Level of understanding that I didn't think Blizzard had in them anymore, that I didn't think they were going to be able to illustrate anymore. It shows a change in thinking and management in Blizzard. I didn't think Blizzard could break free of the arrogance that was so rife during the 2020 release. We can release the game in this state and get away with it. I'm not blaming individuals for it, or at least not the individuals that had nothing to do with it. It's a management thing. It's a corporate rot kind of thing. It's what happens to publicly traded companies when the marketing people take over, etc. But the Reforged...
He did call out a couple of Hive people. That was a bit odd.
Release was very symbolic of that rot. And I think many of us gave up on Blizzard forever afterwards. I polled my community and expectations for the patch were really, really low. For whatever news was coming on the 13th of November, it was really, really low. But here we are, and there it is. And so I feel like there has been some healing going on. The chat experience of the Warcraft 3 client in multiplayer is much better than Battle.net 2.0, which basically had...
All hail the great Satan, Bobby Kotick. Dude! Yeah, true. Here we go, the chat discussion again.
No chat activity at all. I think it can still improve in its looks, as right now you have one chat line per one user and it takes a lot of space up. You can only have 6 messages in the entire chat room, and that is in stark contrast to how the old Warcraft 3 chat was, where you could have dozens of messages on a single screen. I think multiple consecutive chat lines by one user can and should be grouped together. I think maybe there can be a bit of a squeezing of the total amount of space that your icon and name takes up. I think menu...
I have so much to say on this, but just one or two things. That the room is mentioned before the name is really odd. The text is really small and kind of hard to read, is really odd. And do I have to spin up a PowerPoint? Can I spin up a PowerPoint real quick? Yeah. So this is a little preview of my video. So this is an example for chat, right? And this entire thing here is empty. Nobody is writing long messages like this. So I think half of the box can be used for something better. And since I'm complaining that you always need an extra click to get into a game, you could just do it like this. Cut half of the chat box, put the friend list here, squeeze it a little bit, put the versus right hand side here, so you have your profile way more visible that way. You can select the game mode, you can click find match, ideally you select your race here as well, which should be part of the screen, and boom, you have an improvement of like that. It's twice as good. I gotta say, I was incredibly skeptical of chat channels. So far it's been pretty good, but the functionality of chat channels is also flawed for now, which I think Grubby will go into.
Lines by one user can and should be grouped together. I think maybe there can be a bit of a squeezing of the total amount of space that your icon and name takes up. I think menu and interface interactions create too much spam messages, too much system messages that linger and clog up the chat, and therefore you can't see social chatting as much.
That's also true. Like if you queue, it's like 3 lines. But as he's talking about interactions, there's something that annoys me so much. I showed you already the fiend noise. That's annoying me. Do I have sound now? You always have that sound. You always load everything anew. And up. And chains, and back, and up, and chains, and up, and chains, and down, and back, and chains, and up, and back, and chains, and sound, and animation, and up, and chains, and boom, and up, and chains. You always load and you always get that sound. It's so annoying. I spent 5 days feedbacking this, and this drives me mad. This drives me so mad that this is always happening, especially when I always have to do this extra click. And if I want to change from, for example, multiplayer and want to watch a replay, yes, somewhere here is that function, but I also will have to go back to the hub to then go into replay. And sometimes I have to change an option. Then I get the chain and animation from the option, go into option, have that thing again. Oh my god, dude, it's so much. It is so much. I don't need all of this. It is so much. I like the sound in general. I like the animation in general, but cut it down by like 2/3 and then it's awesome. You know what I'm saying? It's so annoying. It's so unnecessary.
Scrolling in chat history currently doesn't work very well because any new message that arrives in chat while you're scrolling up instantly resets and snaps you back to the bottom. Or is that what it does? No, it moves to where you're looking at. It basically remembers that you moved 200 units up. And so when you're looking at something at 200 units up and a new message comes, then you're suddenly looking at something that's 180 units up from where you were originally panning. And so you can't focus on anything. You can't read anything. It doesn't pause. Additionally, I never appear in the chat room. When I go to a new chat room, I can type there and I can demonstrably chat there and my messages appear, but my name itself, Grubby, does not appear in the chat room at all. When I ask someone else to join, there's like a 30% chance that they appear in the chat room.
Yes.
And a 70% chance that they also do not appear, just like me. It's weird. The old Battle.net system, it was pretty straightforward. There was a maximum user limit per channel.
Yep.
And when it was full, it was full. Then you had to make a new one. You would go to cool guys, and then it's full. 25 out of 25. You make a new.
We know that neither of us, not me, not you, was it with the cool guys.
Channel, cool guys 2. Now other people go there. That's pretty much how we did it. But at least everybody that's in the channel is in the channel, and you can see them. Channel names right now are not unique. So everyone logs in and will be on W3 General chat. But you won't be in communication with everyone else that's also in W3 General. You're in some kind of weird subdivision of W3 General with some invisible character code. And back in the days, you would have...
It's like layering in WoW. Like you are in W3 General, but there's only like 10 people. Not 50. So while I was mega critical of the chat channels being prominent, because I expected the worst in terms of racism, etc., etc., so far that's not the case, but also so far you only have chat channels with 10 people that are barely used. So I want to see the chaos when these big chat channels are created, and then I want to see if the behavior is still alright.
Would have channels like Warcraft 3 UK1, Warcraft 3 UK2, etc. So you knew there's a paging system, you knew there's a unique channel identifier. So I think a lot of work needs to be done here to clean that up. That's my critique on that.
I don't think it's a lot of work, to be honest. I think that is one of the aspects that is very much doable. And I'm actually kind of looking forward to that, especially when you fix that, plus you reposition it a bit, and put some functionality in the menu as well, and then boom, amazing. And I don't think this is unrealistic to be fixed soon.
That and my first expressions, but I am very happy with how it looks. I think it's a great step in the right direction, and if they keep working on it and improving it, I'm going to be enjoying this social system so much more than before.
Big
Part
if.
of the social.
It's a big if. Like, we shouldn't judge it on what it could be, but we should judge it on what it is. And currently, I would say it's a 2 out of 10. Because let's be honest, it's not that much social, that much more social, except if you're in a clan maybe. I don't have any friends, so I don't know how that feels. But if you're in a clan, I think it can be really cool already. It could be a 12 out of 10. Currently, it's a 2 out of 10. But I don't think it needs much work to be a 9 out of 10. Lots of potential. I hope they tap on it.
System is also the ability to make clans, which was part of Legacy Warcraft 3, but not of Reforged Warcraft 3. This functionality is back. You become a chieftain of a clan when you make a clan, and then you can invite people and you can promote their role to shaman and something else. Those people that can then help invite new members, and I think the member limit is higher than it was in the past. All of this is super fun. I can make a channel that's revolving around the community of my stream and my YouTube channel, and then when we're playing Warcraft 3, we can hang out in the same channel together. This is awesome.
I still think it is unnecessary because there's Discord, but we had this discussion before. I'm apparently alone with this opinion that we don't need this, but hey, a lot of people enjoy it, So whatever, roll with it, but make it good.
But there's only one problem. Current ladder of the Battle.net Warcraft 3 system is global. So there are certain components to the multiplayer experience that are also global. However, clans are somehow region bound. On launch day, only America's server worked for a while and Europe didn't have any logins. So initially when I started playing with the launch stream, I started playing on North America. I made a clan, the Grubsters, with abbreviation Grub, and I invited a bunch of people. Maybe we're about 20 strong. But then when I logged in on Europe, I couldn't make any clan, I couldn't join any clan, I couldn't even leave any clan. I wasn't in a clan. However, that's because it was blocking me out from being in a clan, because it still remembers that I'm in a clan on NA, but there's no display of that whatsoever when I'm on Europe. So right now, clans are uniquely region-based. You can only be in one at a time, but there's no proof that you are in one when you're on another server. So you got to choose what server you want to be in a clan on, which is why right now, if I want to keep my clan on NA, then I don't have a clan on Europe at all. The way it should work, of course, is that you have one clan global-wide, and that everyone can talk with everyone. Because if the ladder is global, why wouldn't clans and channels be global? Duh.
Duh, indeed. But is it too late? Because there's like... There is a Clan 1 on Europe, and there's a Clan 1 in Americas, and now if they merge it, who's the real Clan 1? Or if you have the abbreviation Neo, which doesn't work, I think. I'm banned. How does that work? It's like, what's it called? Glass of pickles? Not a glass, right? It's a, something with the pickles. They fight for the name. Fair.
Ladder. I'm glad we have a reinvigorated ladder experience with a leveling system that's reminiscent of the legacy version. It has more charm than the 2022 ladder system, and by virtue of the patch itself coming out a few days ago, naturally there is a stimulation of activity that it has not got necessarily to do with the quality of it, but just the fact that there's new things. There's a lot of people on the ladder now, and that's fun. There are some problems that remain necessary to be fixed. The griefing and reporting system currently doesn't have a feedback system. So whether it works or not, I don't know. Maybe you guys don't know. There's a low incentive for it to be used and a low trust that it actually works. Even if it was the...
This is super important point by him. Love that point. We were told that the reporting system is working. Even I don't believe it. A jar of pickles. Thank you. Even I don't believe it. And then how is the average Warcraft player gonna believe it? And I think he has a good solution for that lined up. Let's see.
The best reporting system in the world, it would be really difficult for you to find out whether it's working or not. So I don't have personal experience with it, but I did hear from my community sometimes that there can be a lot of leavers and AFKers that are ruining team games. And my suggestion is you should report them and gather data about whether those people are going to be suspended, banned, or whatever. But without a message that says your report has been actioned on, sometime down the line, could be a future login, could be a system message, could be a whisper, could be a pop-up. People aren't going to know that it's working, if it is, and therefore aren't going to be likely to use it. And therefore...
You also need to... This is not enough, I think. You must know if it was successful or not. Thanks for your report. The user ABC3000 was banned. Yada, yada, yada. This is... I guess the case in other games, MOBAs and stuff. Yeah, I think so.
It will be a
because that feels great. Then you get a little bit of I don't want to say euphoria, but you feel League does it that way. Nice, thank you for confirming my theory. So you're validated. You do a community service. And you get a little praise, right? Like, pat on the back. Well done. Thank you for keeping the community clean. I'd like that.
Fulfilling prophecy that it doesn't do anything because nobody does anything. So I think there's a lot to improve, but it seems Blizzard is committed to doing so. in the short term and hopefully in the long term as well. So I'm very hopeful about that. Now let's move on to one of the larger topics as well. I do think all of this was large and important, and I think overall I'm very positive about it, though there's much room to improve. One of the more contentious issues is the graphics of Warcraft 3.
Ooh, well, we're still there. Before an hour ago, games again didn't count. It seems like they identified the problem. And it seems like at the moment, the problem is fixed. But this is the essential thing of the ladder. The results must count. Boom. And there's no way around it. That is the backbone of multiplayer. Games are being registered properly now. Yep, it took 5 days, and let's see for how long. At the moment, for an hour or two, people say that is the case. But let's have an eye on the results, okay? Is all I'm saying. I would have been very, very critical 2 hours ago. Now it's fixed, but it's very temporary at the moment. And the games of the weekend are just lost. It only took 3 years and 5 days. That's right. Like, we gotta praise them though. From Reforged to 2.0 took them 4 years to count somewhat correctly. Now it only took them 5 days to count correctly. So that's an improvement, right? I mean, if it's fixed now, then that's dope. Then that's really dope.
And there's a lot.
It's not dope. It's finally right. And what he said is Warcraft repaired. The world is healing. That is Warcraft repaired. That is Warcraft healing. If it lasts. Yep.
Not to be said here. This is going to combine topics of the advertisement by Blizzard on the Warcraft Direct anniversary stream, as well as unspoken expectations from the community, as well as what Blizzard has said about it on their own website. So the Reforged graphics overall...
They have a small team, and I would assume the budget is small for an old game. Captharix, that is correct, but we always can compare it to War 3 Champions, who build a working, functioning, counting multiplayer system in a couple of weeks with no budget and basically 1 to 2 people. So that is no excuse. Because the other project who could get it done has the same manpower, if not less, and had no money.
This is the one that got designed by Lemon Sky, the outsourced studio, but was sanctioned and authorized and checked upon and feedbacked on by Blizzard Classic team back in 2018, 2019, 2020. So the Lemon Sky art, or let's say the Reforged 2020 art, overall still very ugly in my opinion. Every now and then I read comments like, I don't know what's wrong with them, I really like them, and I know it's unreasonable for me to want to punch those people in the face. It's completely out of whack. It doesn't make sense, right? It's a complete overreaction. Why should I care? To each their own. I know this all intellectually, but it makes me mad. I think they're...
Okay, wow. Quite a lot to unpack. We kind of started the stream with that. And the models aren't ugly. They aren't. If you look at the models alone, they aren't ugly. They have a lot of detail. It's not Warcraft, but the model itself, they're good. The art direction is horrible. The readability is non-existent. But the models themselves, they're really cool. Of course, the quality isn't 10 out of 10, but to threaten violence because of models is a bit extreme. For cutscenes, they're mega good. For playing, they're not. So, yeah, I disagree.
They're ugly. I think those Reforged graphics, they have been tinkered on, by the way, halfway this week, right? November 13th. The terrain has somewhat improved. Blight has greatly improved. Terrain and environment, for the most part, have improved the most. They're not...
I still think Blight is pretty bad. I still think... Wait, is it here? I like that they have these effects. The cracks, the neon green ground, the gas is alright. But this is not my Blight. It's not my Blight. Gotta keep working.
Those Reforged graphics, they have been tinkered on, by the way, halfway this week, right? November 13th. The terrain has somewhat improved. Blight has greatly improved. Terrain and environment, for the most part, have improved the most. They're not perfect, but they're much better than before. The models and icons...
What the hell is that? First, we got the genie. The water elementals are genies, and those models are a disgrace, but they're a funny disgrace. What the hell is this waterfall? Okay, please scroll along.
Seem completely or largely untouched. And overall, you won't see me using much of those models, units, visual effects that have come with specifically the complete Reforged graphics toggle. Still ugly, won't use. They're still pretty bad FPS performance. You should imagine that you get about 1/3 of the FPS that you would get when you're using classic standard definition, legacy graphics. There are micro stutters that I'm experiencing, like when I make a unit for the first time, when I start a game for the first time, when I make a barracks for the first time. And so those are all...
We just released a video on that. And we can... Yeah, I just agree. Like, performance is really, really, really bad. Especially when Night Elves are involved or you see things at the first time.
All making my skill level worse. Audio-wise, I think the audio of Reforged is still bad. Incomprehensible voice line inclusions of laughable quality would be my summary of it. Basically, in Legacy Warcraft 3, every single unit death sound was one death sound per one unit. There's a nice advantage for this. One death sound per one unit means that if you do not have visual confirmation that something is dying, then at the very least you have auditory confirmation that the unit is dying. Eventually you become aware of the iconic death sound per unit. But incomprehensibly for Reforged, some units still have one death sound, but some units now have 4 death sounds. And you can bet your white pasty behind on it that the 3 other death sounds that are not the original are of lower quality, are of laughable quality.
Ashes to ashes. Conceal. They will be cleansed by fire.
Are generally some kind of moan, groan, or splot. Some splot.
Yeah, that's true. Grubby has his death sounds. I have my attack animations that I absolutely hate. Whether that's an arrow from a tower or an archer, or obviously the fiend sound, which is the absolute worst in my opinion. True. Big true. Definitely reason to criticize.
Plot, rather than the original. So the originals are not just nostalgic. I don't just reject the new ones out of nostalgia. I also reject the new ones out of a gameplay streamline point of view. Some units have multiple death sounds now. They never did. And it is unclear whether I lost a grunt or a peon because they both sound like that. And then I also think they're just of low quality and laughably bad. So
I show you my fiend example again. Should be... Do I still have this? Maybe I deleted it. But you know, the makes the fiends sound like snakes. Horrible.
Right now.
So, please, dear people of the Warcraft RTS team, separate the Reforged graphics mode that has classic HD in it from Reforged sound. That has to be independent. I want to play classic HD with classic sounds. Give us a toggle. Give us options, please. Pretty please.
Both classic HD graphics and Reforged graphics completely use the audio that Reforged 2020 introduced. I think it's bad, and it's a reason for me not to want to use either one of those graphic settings because they're coupled. But good news, Blizzard is intending to add an audio toggle that allows you to choose which audio you want to use, Classic, Legacy, or Classic HD or Reforged, no matter which graphics you're using. So you could use new graphics, old audio, or if you want, the new audio with the old graphics. So this
That should be news. Grubby and Witty, in there we saw the private chat before. They are conspiring again. So yeah, that's cool. That is very cool. Question is just when, and I won't praise it before I have confirmation and I have it in my game, because people can say a lot. I want to see that delivered and working.
is coming, #soon. Now let's talk about the Classic HD graphics. These are the most important topic to talk about outside of, all the other stuff. Well, that makes sense. If you take everything else and you talk about it, then the one thing that's left is the most important thing to talk about, not counting the rest. Wow, that's a great breakdown, Grubs. But yes, Classic HD graphics, they are important to talk about. So basically, Blizzard said about this, available now, the patch overhauls the environments and lighting and revamps the user interface. In addition, we are up-resing all classic Warcraft 3 assets to HD. Now, you make a statement like that in the Anniversary Direct live stream on YouTube, and expectations are going to vary wildly. Those are just words, but there are also images that are used to advertise the new Classic HD graphics. All right, let's take a little look at the advertising that is done.
Yeah, I would think anyone who read that or heard that had higher expectations than what was promised. And I don't think that's a problem of community's expectations, because prior to them saying that, nobody had expectations, but it's a problem of under delivery.
For Warcraft Reforged, Classic HD graphic settings that are active right now as per 16 November 2024 Saturday. So on this website, Reforged is being advertised. Warcraft Reforged shaped the fate of Warcraft's world. Real-time strategy. Buy now. The battlefield awaits. Game features. Reforged visuals. Vivid recreations of every hero, unit, building, and environment. This can pertain.
I don't want to say too much about it because we just did a video on it where we reacted to Witty. So, yeah, that is not good.
Into the Reforged graphics. But there is an image here, which is a marketing concept art still. They called it a still. There's an image here. It's very small. We're going to have a bigger example soon. But this image shows a gameplay state that has never been in the game in the past and will never be in the game in the future. This golden hued bone.
That is an assumption. Who knows?
Yard with violet frostworm skeleton inside, this gaseous cloud around the abomination. None of this is real. This has been retouched in some way. I do not care for discussing the method too much. Some people are like, it's AI. I don't have enough expertise to discuss what is AI and what is not. Some people are very convinced. To be honest, I don't really care about it. It's a large discussion. AI art is a very contentious topic. The way that I see it, I'll just talk about it really, really briefly. It is a new tool. You can treat it ethically and unethically. There's no ethical problem for a company to up-res their own graphics with an AI tool. It's not like they're unleashing it on millions of images on the internet where there could be copyright infringements. They are just using it on their own images. They have full right to do so. It is a modern tool that you can use. What is interesting is whether or not this is a real gameplay image or not. Being on this page.
So, this has some ramifications also for later. And I think this is the beginning of where I lose Grubby in his argumentation. Because he seems to be like I don't want to say a big fan But he has a very limited view on AI, and I'm pretty sure if you open a talk with him, it's way more nuanced. But, and I said this in previous videos before, if you fire hundreds of people and replace it with AI, the AI has to do at least the same, or has to reach the quality of the people that you fired. And then nobody will complain. If the quality is lower, then people will rightfully complain. And if the quality is so low that people mock the results, then it's an insult to what was used before, to icons that were created by humans whose work you then put into the dirt. And that's the problem. And not that, in general, AI is used for anything.
You would imagine this is a real game.
And yes, of course, it's not ethical at all. And it's gonna get worse and worse and worse.
Gameplay image. You may zoom in and say, I really like how this looks. In fact, I saw big streamer Asmongold.
Okay, again, one more thing. Like, you can be as disconnected from the result it has on the artist, but if the quality is lower, you have a worse experience. So if you're as egocentric and only look at how this affects you, then you have to look at shit. And then it does affect you.
Look at this during his live stream review where he was reacting to it, just like I was simultaneously, but I looked at it later and he said, this looks really good.
And so these are some of the new screenshots from the Warcraft 3 Reforged. I think it looks really good. This looks like what I imagined Warcraft 3 to look like when I played it in 2001.
But the problem is, this is not real. This is not in the game. I find that to be a problem. Then as we zoom out a bit again, we'll see a bigger image of this later. I
think the bigger problem is that AI is trained on data from artists without their agreement. That is a whole different topic, and this is not the topic of the video, but in general, you're obviously arguing in the right direction. So, yeah.
Zoom out, races, media gallery. All right.
But he didn't comment on the ethics, so I guess it doesn't really fit here. I just want an at least okay result, and he seems to not care about it at all, which I find odd.
There's a media gallery here. These images are real. This is real gameplay imagery, as is this, and this, and this. It's all real. This is just concept art, evidently. Some people said this was also AI done. I don't care. It looks cool. This looks cool. These are clearly not real gameplay images. And these 5 are. Allegedly, this media gallery also showed those same fake gameplay stills that were not really stills. But right now I don't see them. Interestingly, when you press view all, it no longer leads to anywhere. Whereas all the other buttons on the page do work. So I feel like...
Okay, there's more comments coming in, and of course some of them are good. I don't think AI is supposed to be used as a workforce, more as a tool to enhance people's abilities. Yes, but if it's good enough, then it's ultra mega cheap, and people will obviously, or companies will obviously, go for the super mega cheap reaction if people, like Grubby in this case, don't care. If they can come through with it. If the customer allows it. And that's the problem. And I don't really see how that is not a point and how that is acceptable. But
the backlash that was received by people claiming false advertising has been seen, allegedly, and they have disabled this button to not take you to this page anymore. The Blizzard Press Center. The Blizzard Press Center, I would imagine that it linked to this before. that you could click it, but you no longer can. But this page still exists. blizzard.gamepress.com/en/Warcraft 3 Reforged 2024. Warcraft 30th Anniversary Direct, Warcraft 3 Reforged 2.0. Fine. Warcraft 3 Reforged 2.0 race gameplay concepts. I'd be fine with that. Anyone would be fine with that. Showing gameplay concepts which do not reflect the current state of the game is fine because they're concepts. At first, I thought that's a problem too, but then I thought about it a bit more, and then I thought, hey, look at this, 9 years ago, Warcraft 3 alpha and beta screenshots. This is how Warcraft 3 used to look like. Then they made it more into the isometric RTS-based game that we know now, and they saved this type of work for a newer game, World of Warcraft, right? But this is how Warcraft 3 used to look like. There's Samuro, there's a Raider. Here are more screenshots from Warcraft 3, supposedly. I remember it had a far more RPG-focused look when I read about Warcraft 3 in the early 2000s in PC gameplay magazines. So none of this is...
Is that a good comparison? I think there's just two very different approaches here. Obviously, that's very cool to see that this was Warcraft 3, but why this has changed is not because they drew this and wanted to market with this, but they started to develop the game and thought this would be mega cool. Then at some point they realized, nah, maybe it's not as cool as we thought it is. Let's make a bit of a more classic RTS from it and change the direction, which is very brave mid-development. The images, though, they're like, how do we think that people want it to look? And then at some point they were like, it's probably too expensive to make it, and let's still use it as advertisement and mislead some people. Was the marketing direction, not the Warcraft RTS direction. I think the why this changed is game design. Why the pictures changed is budget and deadlines and cut funding in general and just rush it out and get over with it.
This is, of course,
I
illustrative
think that's two pairs of shoes.
of how Warcraft 3 would end up looking like, and that's fine because plans can change. They really were reflecting the inner sanctum of Blizzard's gameplay testing and demos, and they deliberately brought these screenshots out thinking it's going to look like that in the end. And then eventually it wouldn't, but this is fine because it's not currently being used to advertise how Warcraft 3 looks like.
But they didn't put this on the box. The big difference is they didn't put this on the box when it came out. They do put this on the virtual box when it came out. Right? This is like mid-development. This is post-release. Two pairs of shoes.
And as such, there is no problem. Look at how Dreadlord used to look like. Cool, man. And yeah,
Indeed.
so that's advertising that is being done asynchronously, or let's say not simultaneously with the present time. But while this, by the way, this title here used to be called Warcraft 3 Reforged Gameplay Stills. A still is a word for a photograph, which makes you think that it is actually a photo from the game. And that is a little problematic. And they changed this to concepts, which, cool, you know, again, this seems to allege that they agreed that it was problematic, the backlash that has been happening a bit. But when you look at the individual JPEGs, they are still called stills. So when we click them, what do we see? We see the imagery that has now gone around the world over.
Nice catch, Sherlock Grubster. I didn't see this, the names and stuff. Nice catch.
Websites like IGN and Rock Paper Scissors, etc., etc. Any YouTubers that looked at it, they see this imagery. It's still called a still. It has been already incorporated in marketing for the game, and I hope at best that this was an oversight and an overreaching by the marketing department that was not signed off by the spearheading of the Warcraft RTS team. That's the best case scenario, and I hope that when they see this video or when they perceive, you know, this kind of backlash, that they agree that this is not a good way to market the game, because none of this is real. You go to the other images, you know, this looks pretty good. Some people may say, why can't we have it like this? Some people may say, I don't see a difference, right? But this is not for you then. This critique is not understandable for you. And maybe my editor will splice in some imagery that shows a one-to-one with a similar image to this, where you can see how some units are really quite different. But if you know, you know very.
Shout out to the editor. Well done.
Very, very clearly.
And come on, if you don't see the difference on Town Hall and Barracks, you might be blind.
And then this one as well, here you see the bigger image of that boneyard. And so these are stills, and they do not do good advertising. All right, back to this page here. Let's talk a little bit about the price of the game. People are getting fooled a bit on the price of the game. Again, this could be an oversight. It could be a little bit on purpose. Yeah, if you go here on the warcraft3.blizzard.com URL and you press buy now, where does it lead you? It leads you immediately here. The first thing you...
Can we all agree that parts of this game should be free by now? Like, can we put this war chest to the side? And can we agree that parts of this game must be free after 20 years? Like, why do I have to pay for classic multiplayer? If people really like it, they can still go for an add-on for Reforged. That's totally fine. If they want to get the campaign, that's totally fine. But if people want to play customs and ladder on classic graphics, let them have it for free. It's the case for StarCraft, for StarCraft 2, for everything. Make it free. Regardless of everything else here, make it free. It has to be free.
You see is Warcraft Remastered Battle Chest. But if you go back, it doesn't say that it's going to be taking you to a battle chest. It looks like I'm going to click on a buy link for Reforged. I click on it, I go to a battle chest page, and it says Warcraft Remastered 1, 2, and 3 are all included for 40 euros. So I might think that the price for Reforged is 40 euros. Obviously, this is not false advertising, but I do think that it shouldn't link here when you press buy now on a page that merely says Warcraft 3 Reforged. When you scroll down, you can see the individual games that are included, including Warcraft 1 Remastered, 2, Warcraft 3 Reforged 2.0, and the original Warcraft titles, and the Spoils of War as well. However, the Warcraft 3 Reforged itself on this page is not clickable. And because of that, I cannot see its individual price. It does have one, but it's not on this entire page. And I think that's at best confusing and at worst a little deceptive.
Yes.
Then when we go to another page, there is a Battle.net page, because right now we're also on the Battle.net page. I don't even know how I got here, but as you can see, I'm on eu.shop.battle.net on Family Warcraft RTS. It says here at the top, Warcraft Relive the Legend. Return to Warcraft with this remastered collection. There's the battle chest. Here you do see the additional games that are components of this purchase of €39.99.
$39.99. 30 of that is Reforged after 5 years. That is mental. It's mental. Can you guys name a game from 2019 that came out at a similar time than Reforged? Just to check the price. Game of the year 2019. Sekiro. Sekiro. Sekiro is still $60. Shit. I thought I have a gacha moment. Shit. That's unfortunate. Okay. Resident Evil 2 Control the Outer Worlds was nominated. 50% discount on that game. From Software games don't go fast. Okay. Destiny 2. Wow. Destiny 2. Does that cost anything? Is that for free? Oh, it's for free. But yeah, I think if at least 50% discount is justified. Hate the price politics. Resident Evil 2 remake is often for €10. Yeah, that would be great.
Or if you're in US, it's going to be $39.99 US. You can see the individual price for Warcraft 1, 10, 15 for 2.
Monster Hunter Rise was €40 in 2022, now 10. Yeah, I think that's very fair.
And 30 for Reforged, which together is actually 55, which makes 40 quite a deal. That's a €5 discount per game when you think about it. And I can click this here, and then I finally get to the page where you can see that Warcraft 3 Reforged is in fact $29.99.
What's the cost of the Command & Conquer remake? I think that's not a mega fair comparison, but we can take a look. They just... Command & Conquer Remaster Collection. $20. $20. $20.
But why do I need to navigate like this? I don't even remember how I navigated to find the solo game. Also, when we look at how the game is advertised on the Battle.net launcher, this is my Battle.net launcher, the only way that I see in the shop that Warcraft is...
But Reforged hasn't earned their spending. I think you underestimate how many people wanted that mount. I really do. I really, really, really do.
Being advertised with price is again the Warcraft Remastered Battle Chest. So this is like a sales technique to kind of show you the higher price point without making it very clear that you can get the game for €30 yourself. And I've already had a few community members that have bought the game thinking it's €40, only being interested in Warcraft 3, but getting the €40 version anyway. So be careful, guys. So let's talk.
Sekiro is also published by Activision. There we go. But yeah, the price is a problem. For sure.
Talk a little bit about what classic HD graphics actually are. Classic HD models, are they hand redrawn or are they AI upresed?
Yes.
Well, it looks like they're not entirely hand redrawn, despite Holly Longdale's testimony towards that in the Warcraft Anniversary Direct. Now, I can't 100% confirm this, but people seem pretty confident about it, and we're going to be able to look at some images where we can discuss whether we think it's AI upresed or not. So let's take...
I'm sorry. If you deny that these icons are AI upresed, then you are delusional. And I've seen a lot of people on the Battle.net forums. I've seen a lot of people in my YouTube comments. These images are AI upresed without any quality control. Guys,
take a look at some of those images. Okay, so right here from Neo's video where he talks about the art, we can see a series of images where you see the original standard definition legacy Boots of Speed icon. You've got the Hive Workshop icon where they tried their own upres, which by the way was also done with AI. And then you see the patch 2.0 icon for Boots of Speed. The original icons were 64 by 64 pixels. The large icons are 512 by 512, the 2.0. So there are significantly more pixels, and by the way, there are a gargantuan amount of icons in the game. I just want to put a little pin here and say that your evaluation of whether or not it's justified to use AI mechanics to upscale art is probably going to come down to whether or not you think it's realistic and financially viable for Blizzard to hire many artists to work on thousands of different icons and models in the game 4 years after they last sold the game in a big marketing push. I think you can expect, you can hope for very good. And if you don't like Blizzard, and if you don't like the new art, then you're probably going to take that position. You may also take the position where you say, I didn't expect much. By the way, before 13 November.
So, here I have to say quite a bit. I feel kind of personally addressed by this. And maybe that's a perception kind of thing, and it's on me. But it is my example. It is my video. It is my point of the video that this is shameful. Yo, Phalo, thank you. So yeah, I definitely feel personally addressed. Also, I know that Grubby didn't like the way I named the video and how drastic I was in the video. Because he said it in some Twitch chats and that was leaked to me. I don't have a problem with that. But I do feel personally addressed by this. And if he says, should you expect Blizzard to redraw them by hand, then I say I never said this. And since he's using my video, it kind of feels like he's twisting my words and sells it as if I demand from Blizzard to redraw every icon to 512 to 512, which was never the case. And maybe, I don't know if I'm sensitive there, or am I just wrong there, or if it's just got me in the wrong mood or something. But I feel like that's kind of wrong, because A, I never said this, B, I never demanded it, C, nobody ever said we need 512 by 512 icons. And I said also multiple times in my video that if the result of AI is fine, then it's totally fine for that team to use it. So I do have a problem with this part of the video, I gotta say. Because, like, we don't need these items to be that big. We don't. They're nowhere to be seen this big. They're solid source material if you export them, and they are definitely sharper. But this result is a disgrace, and it stays a disgrace.
November, everybody had no expectations. So whether or not you think it's going to be financially viable and sensible for them to redraw everything by hand is that's up to you. I should also say that even if Blizzard were to redraw everything with artists, how can you improve upon perfection?
That is, again, not the point. The point is not improving this. The point is not ruining it. And the new icons are ruining the original. Especially the command cards.
Classic SD. I think many of us hoped for and wanted a classic HD graphics that was very true to the original and is much more beautiful and modern and higher res, but all carefully handcrafted and hand-drawn. But do you trust Blizzard with that in 2020?
I mean, we're gonna have to talk about it. We had Reforged, so no.
24 is the question. Like, even if they invested a lot of resources, they could still get it wrong. For instance, StarCraft 1 Remastered had pretty good redrawing, but I don't like every StarCraft 1 Remastered HD asset more than the original. Particularly the mission briefing room, I think, attests to a much lower talent for art. When you look at how all the different portraits of story characters were redrawn, yes, they're all higher definition, but James Rayner and Mengsk and Duke, they all go from really iconic, weird-looking heads, potato head, blockhead, salt and pepper beard, and they go to these generic dudes in StarCraft 1 Remastered portraits that aren't as good artistically from an artistic talent point of view, in my opinion. So I don't even know if I would have want them to do classic HD, but I guess that's a different point of view. So let's talk a little bit about the specificities.
Yes, please.
This boots of speed clearly has some graphical artifacts. Where
Yes.
the boots of speed is touching the frame, you can see that the blending with the frame has spread out a line of the boots very underneath the frame. There is a clip here on the nose of the boot
Yep.
that looks like it does not belong. Where the lightning bolt facet touches the side panel here, there is also a spreading out. So I think this kind of thing very likely does prove that these were at least used with an enhancement of AI. Maybe some, all, or none of them have been gone over by hand. I've been hearing that there's definitive proof that there have been hand retouching on some models, that there's some things you can't do with AI, and I've heard it.
I want to see that. And I feel like if you say something like that, you should show the evidence, because I really want to believe. Like, I want to see that actual people were involved in the process of this. That would be cool. A lot of my YouTube, or not a lot, but a couple of YouTube comments says that's an artistic choice to present the boot like this. And then I would love to see that.
It said that there's definitive proof that some things were, or all things were done with AI. So I can't prove it to you, but I can only say that it looks likely that this and many things have been. So here's another picture of a boots. This is if you take the 64 by 64 image, courtesy of Neo from Back to Warcraft, thank you. If you take it to make it as big as the 2.0 version. So at this point, you can see that it does look a lot more clear, but there's some artifacts. So I'm going to give you guys my opinion. I'm not saying you should copy my opinion. I'm not saying that everything is done right. I'm saying I don't care. I don't care about those boots having some graphical artifacts. I just don't. And I'm not saying that as an ambassador and fighter for you and for the community. I personally don't.
Why should that defend the community? Why should that statement be defending the community? I think that statement is giving Blizzard a pass to just do it in the future. I think this is the gaming equivalent of shrinkflation. You know, we don't care. We take our 1000 icons and we put it in a batch, and whatever comes out, comes out. Doesn't matter. People will eat it. Our Blizzard stands will eat it. Why would we care? I mean, we just had the worst remaster in terms of quality in the history of gaming. Why would we care about more low quality products in our game?
Don't care. I think it looks better, the new one, and done. My
It looks
expectations were
better.
very low from Blizzard, and my expectations for the graphical overhaul do not include needing to have new icons. If it
Yeah, nobody said that.
looks enough similar as the original, that's great for me, because I never hated classic SD. I love
Nobody
it. I
did.
don't need new graphic settings at all, right? It would have been nice, but I've given up on it. Grieving about it now that we don't have it, it's too late for me. I already grieved it over the last 4 years. I think our best chance of getting a full graphical overhaul for classic HD was 2020. And
So this goes into the next topic. Again, I feel like he's saying that I demanded this and I don't. So I want to spoil again a video that will come out tomorrow, I think. This is a new version of the Boots of Speed that I got today. Apparently like 3 minutes of work. So would you want the 2.0 version, or would you want a 2-minute version done better? When there's no artifacts, when the nose of the boot is correct, when the lightning isn't dripping, when the frame is done correctly, when the emeralds are correct and the colors are faithful. Look here on the left-hand side. There's just a random red pixel. Shouldn't be there. And you might say, this is just a boot. Who cares? This thing is everywhere. This is your move command button. And we can make fun of that dragon. It's not too common, right? We can make fun of this lizard who's mega derpy. But this thing affects us all. This thing is on every unit that can walk. So, this is classic. Everything's fine here. It's classic HD. And you will have, if we don't complain loud enough, and if Blizzard doesn't hear us, we will have the green fog artifacts for the rest of our lives here. And here. And we will have gray fog here. This is what you have to live with now. Because you didn't care. Is that what you want? I don't think so. But hey, maybe you do. And then they will use AI on the next game. And it's going to be bad quality again. And they'll see with how much they can get away. And they'll cut little pieces with every single product. One slice more of the quality, 1 penny more in the bank. Slice of quality, penny in the bank.
Got fucked up so badly that it has become known over the world as one of the biggest failures in the gaming industry. It was very shameful to have your favorite game, go that route. I've grieved that already. It was not always easy, but I don't expect them to redo it again. I don't think it's financially realistic, viable, and I don't need them to do it. That's my opinion, and I know many people feel like me, and I know many people don't feel like me as well. Here is a free online upscale that I think Neo used in like 1 minute. So it is a lot cleaner, but I don't necessarily think it looks... Yeah, maybe it looks a little bit better, but it is...
Yeah, by now this is a bit outdated, of course. I don't blame him. I think if he had seen the video that I just showed you, that would be a different opinion.
Also very glossy. So I'm not even sure I definitely like it better. And then here is a Hive 2024 redo. Here I'm going to say that I do think that the Hive 2024 mostly looks better. All of this is also done with AI tools. It's not perfect. As you can see here at the top, it's very blurry. But the emblem of the lightning bolt looks a lot cleaner. It's very sharp and glossy and nice. You can see that the stud on the boot metal at the top here is basically disappeared. The original boots did have it. These are like studs. They're supposed to be emeralds and they're not here. So none of them are better, in my opinion, than patch 2.0. I will say it could be better if you had a talented artist redoing all of them. But again, I don't think that's realistic. We can compare...
I just received a new icon from Mustang. This is the lizard that you just saw. This is what you can do. Instead of this guy. See, this guy. Bad AI. Bad AI. Good AI. And I don't think anybody complains about this. Right? Like, this is very much acceptable as a product. This is not acceptable as a product. This is more than acceptable as a product. This is not acceptable as a product. You get me? Do you get my point? And according to Mustang, who does these now, it's not many minutes. It's like, oh, I'm playing around a little bit. So, a couple of minutes.
The way that StarCraft 1 was remastered, it would have been nice to have something like this, where the original grainy, blurry battlecruiser really got a truthful remake and a redrawn, most likely by hand, but again, I don't know, I can't prove it, a most likely redrawn by hand battlecruiser. If we had got this, that would have been lovely, but I feel the window for that was 2020. There's an overview of
Chat is saying, you just know Blizzard is using free AI tools. From what I've read, and maybe there's a lot of hearsay, they don't want to use any publicly available AI models, but rather have their own model. But I would also say that these results are rather old. And if they do that now again in a batch product, we would get a better product.
of the Orcish race that shows what HD 2.0 could have looked like. Kenshin, who works on W3 Champions, who is also an artist himself, compiled many work from various mappers on Hive Workshop, open source stuff, and he compiled it all together to show what the Orc race could look like with 2.0. I think this looks really nice. There's a lot of cool models here. It's of course not a done job. You would still need to manage animation, etc. But I think this looks really nice, this compilation. Here's Orc. We've got Undead here. Obviously, not everything is perfect. The Infernal looks like he has a big chest. A lot of blue glow. The Destroyer's wings are a bit too feathery,
Nothing wrong with a big chest, am I right, boys? Am I right, boys?
like a bird maybe. Shades are probably
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't like the Destroyer either. I got a good point there. I don't like how the wings are connected to the body, unfortunately. But
way
yeah.
too blurry. But many of these units look really cool. I like how the Abomination looks like. The Garg. I like the Demolisher here, the Kodo Beast. We've got Human here with various different units. It's all pretty close to the original. And again, while much of this is nice, I don't personally need this, right?
Yeah, that's very fair to say. But if you want to get a lot of attention to the game, a lot of people care. A lot of people care. I personally never really got why people are so interested in graphics of a game, because to me it's also not that interesting. I'm fully with Grubby there. I can watch classic graphics till the end of time. But to get attention from the outside, and I think we would benefit from it, Grubby would benefit from it, Blizzard would benefit from it, models like these would get a lot of attention. And the models that we got in patch 2.0 don't get a lot of attention. Except the negative attention from the stills, obviously. But that's also because they were the way we wanted them.
Kind of talked about that already. I should note that I previously believed that the upresing of the classic HD graphics was a mere unshackling of potential of the 2002 models. But I now think that maybe that's not 100% true. Maybe there was an upresing going on either by hand or with machine aid as well. Not everyone's happy with the results, but I think Classic HD looks pretty nice for the most part. But do send in your feedback how you feel about this kind of thing to Blizzard, as there may still be a chance that they iterate on one thing or another. Especially the most egregious stuff that you could maybe point out. At the moment...
Yeah, so obviously a big disagreement on the past 10 minutes. And that is okay. This can happen. This I don't hate Grubby now for thinking that way. But I think as a community, we shouldn't accept this. That's my opinion on this. We shouldn't accept low quality, regardless of AI or human artist. Our original icons were really, really great, and all of a sudden there's green fog and artifacts visible. And I don't want that. And I don't really want to be silent about it.
I feel like Classic HD or...
Because it is a symptom of bad quality and bad quality control. And we had that before. And yeah, we might have that again. But I want to be the alarm siren when I see stuff like that. Because other stuff is great. The background is amazing. You know, there's a lot of good stuff as well. And I want to praise the good stuff and call out the bad stuff. That's what we do here.
Reforged graphic settings has me incur a small penalty in the performance of my play. You guys may not know, but I used to be a Warcraft 3 pro gamer. Now I'm washed up, but I still like playing well. And when I meet a strong opponent, I can tell when I'm playing on Classic HD that I'm not playing as well as I could be. I would rate it as about a 5 to 10% debuff to my skill. There's a little bit of, there's lower FPS, about a third of FPS that you would have on Classic Legacy graphic settings. There's a lower FPS, but the biggest, most egregious problem for me is the slight mouse lag that I'm feeling when I use those graphics.
I did an entire video on that. It's on YouTube. It's like 10 minutes. Totally agree. Reforged graphics are not optimized. Moonwells are a big problem. There's some fixes to mouse lag that were there before that are not here anymore. So attention to those problems would be greatly appreciated, and it's good that it's addressed.
Until Blizzard further improves upon it, it means I'll probably end up using mostly the original legacy graphics, which are Classic SD in the long term. But I will be showing Classic HD from time to time because I really like how the terrain looks like in Classic HD, and overall more skins are accessible for me to use as well in Classic HD. So once, if I can figure out the mouse lag problem and they can fix it, and once they offer an alternative to the audio where I can use legacy audio, I'll be happy using them. Talking about Classic SD settings, the legacy graphics, the models and look are virtually unchanged. There's a small little change that I can detect in the UI where you have many units selected, right? You have all the peons selected next to each other in the UI at the bottom in the HUD. You can see that the glow around them, the shadowing has all changed a bit, even in Classic SD. It's not a big deal, it's noticeable, and if I thought it's a really big deal, or if you guys thought it's a big deal, you should definitely let them know. But I actually kind of like how it looks, though I can tell that it's different. So overall, for the most part, it's all same old, and it's good. Brad Chan from Blizzard in the Warcraft Direct said, when something is...
It's all same old, and it's good. I feel like this is a bit the theme of the entire patch. And for a 2.0, it shouldn't be same old. 2.0 should be, you know, great and shiny and cool. Otherwise, it's not 2.0.
broken, you fix it. When something is wrong, you make it right. And if things aren't good enough, you make them better. I feel Blizzard are making things right. And if they aren't good enough yet, which I've illustrated is definitely true in places, we're now expecting Blizzard to make them better. So far, every night since the launch has had server-side updates to further improve things that were still shortcoming. And there's still a list of hundreds of things that can be improved, many of which have already been given feedback on, and I hope that they can fix as many, if not all of them, as possible. In conclusion, prior to 2.0, expectations for Blizzard were very, very low because they dropped the ball so hard. Realistically, it's a 22-year-old game that doesn't have new sold for content, not counting the battle chest inclusion. The game is, for legacy graphics, the same as it was before. We got a lot of new quality of life features. Despite low expectations, we got all of this for free. We got new skins, a new client look, a new ladder with improvements and so on. And while many things still need to be improved, I'm happy with what we got. Of course, not everything is as good as it could be, or you could even say should be. And keep in mind that this launch was on a marketing beat day, the anniversary direct, rather than being on a day that may have been most organic to the process and the development of the behind the scenes. I know that's not our problem, it's a them problem, but I'm just saying, not everything is as good as it could be. It's valid to be disappointed by that, and I am also disappointed by things that aren't working yet. I would counsel to myself, to others, to have a bit of patience to allow them to prove themselves. And if they don't, and if many things remain broken and unfinished, just like they left it in 2020, though it is already in a better place than 2020, we have to call them out on it as well. I'm looking forward to the future, and I'm having a lot of fun re-immersing myself in Battle.net ladder play. Maybe I'll revisit the state of the game in about a month, and I'll update you guys all on the progress of the next 30 days. Thanks for watching, sub to the grub, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, I'm a bit conflicted on the last part. Obviously, it's a new team. Obviously, there's some good signs that they know in what direction they have to take this. But they also have to show that they can deliver this. Grubby's video, by the way, we give it a thumbs up. Because that's the etiquette. So there it is. Leave a comment as well. Disagreeing with many things for once, but that's fine. Unlike the quality of icons, Keg W. Always a pleasure reacting to you. So, yeah, as I said, a couple of good signs. A couple of red-ish flags as well. With the quality, of course. So the next couple of weeks are indeed very important. Will they stick to what they said in the direct? They have a lot of tech depth from the previous teams. That's not going to be easy. But I think we had a lot of goodwill before during the Reforged launch, and yeah, I don't really know, man. I really want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I have to see a lot of results relatively quickly. I would love to see some fix sprints, because it's like holidays soon, right? And then it's a new fiscal year, and then what's then?